Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tribal Impact LinkedIn Sales Navigator series. Straight away, I've got it wrong. It's not. It's it's our LinkedIn Live series. So, welcome back, everyone. I am so happy for this conversation. I know I am happy every conversation, but this one we met on LinkedIn, didn't we, Diane?
We did.
So Diane Henderson works for Maximus, social media manager, but has been working in employee advocacy for the last 6 years, 5-6 years, something like that.
Maybe even a little bit longer, but yeah, about that.
And I think that's where your content popped up in my feed for some reason. And I was like, this is good. We share a passion for employee advocacy. Can we connect? And it's led to this. And this is really interesting because we're talking about the government sector, the public sector. And just this week, I've had people say, I don't think social is really good for this industry. But anyway, so we're going to explore all of these things. And everyone who's listening on the podcast afterwards, I'm sorry you can't participate live, but you must come to our future ones. But anybody who's watching today, just give us a hi in the comments. I'm keeping an eye on those. And any questions you got for Diane, you can just pop them in there and I'll put them to her as we go through. Obviously, as always, I've got a ton of questions. Thank you for Donna to helping that. But first, Diane, do you want to just introduce yourself, where you are, and who Maximus is
Sure.
and what they do? That'd be good.
Yeah, so I am Diane Henderson. So great to be here. I live in the U.S. I'm in like an hour outside of Baltimore. Let's just call it Baltimore, Maryland. So I've been working in social media since before it was like a thing, right? So my first job was in 2008. And one of the things I was asked to do was set up a company page for the company I work for, because company pages were brand new. That was also when Twitter came too in 2008. So that's kind of how I got into, started to specialize my communications, was like long time ago. So obviously lots changed since then. Really went from like this free place to this pay to play. So lots changed. So I've worked for like a weight loss company in the past. I've worked for health insurance in the Blue Cross Blue Shield here in the States. And so now I'm with Maximus. I've been here since August of 2022. So I'm still kind of a newbie, but we're a government contractor. So we work at the federal level, but we also work for state and local governments as well. So we have all kinds of contracts. We have contracts like in the tech side of things. We have health services, human services, and I'm trying to think. Those are the big ones, like tech, human, health. One of the biggest things we do is like Medicare, like 1-800 Medicare, like a contact center, like customer service. Like that's some like of the bigger work that we do. So obviously, every time we fill a contract, we have to recruit and hire people. And so that's where a lot of our social lies in using social media to help recruit on behalf of our customers and our clients. But, certainly we use that a lot for just thought leadership. And the cool thing about Maximus is like COVID happened and they kind of blew up, right? And they've always had this reputation for just like the customer service side of things, when in reality, they do so much more with such a big scope, especially in like the tech space. So we've been spending the last couple of years really trying to like educate and reposition ourselves so people start to realize like we are a brand in that tech space and we are experts there. So kind of that's been something that we're using social for, and thought leadership, to really like help people understand we have expertise here. We can help governments on the tech and the health side. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing for the last long time. I won't say how long.
That is, I did look it up, you see. So Maximus, they're huge. You're huge, right? You've got like 10,000 employees. How many employees roughly totally? I saw on LinkedIn it was over 10.
Yeah, that's probably Maximus UK maybe. So we have I would say 35 1,000 maybe, like
Wow.
across the globe. So obviously
Yeah.
we have Maximus in the UK, we have Maximus in Canada, we have, I think, like UAE, like that kind of area. So yeah, there's a
Hugely.
lot of us.
Yeah. So global. And I've got to say hi, Stephanie. Thank you for dropping a comment. I was thinking about you yesterday, actually. So I'm going to drop you a line after. So, but yeah, so thank you very much, Stephanie. I've got loads. I'm going to come back to that repositioning, rebranding, and thought leadership and expert content. I'm going to come back to that. I've made a note. But first, you talked a bit about, so you've got a broad social experience, haven't you? So you paid, your brand channels, employee advocacy. What's the weighting roughly between the sort of three of them? What, or even more maybe? So
Yeah. So I mean, I think in the past few, organic is certainly like that's in terms of my expertise, like that's probably where I do my most of my work. I think like with paid has just changed so much and evolved so much that like that is a very like that's an area of expertise that you need in that. It's like it can be like it's a full-time job, right? To like run ads and optimize in real time. And so I haven't I've dabbled in paid, right? But I've never like that's what I do all day long. That those people are amazing. That's like a very
artists.
specific skill set. So I do a lot more in the organic side, and then obviously advocacy is certainly like my passion for it. If I could just do advocacy all day every day, I totally think that I would. But I think a lot of people like I think employee advocacy is like such a powerful tactic for your social media strategy, and almost even as powerful as organic and paid, right? Like I think a lot of people, especially at like the leadership level, they tend to think of social media as simply like this is just paid or organic content coming from branded channels, right? Like that's the extent of it. But it's a lot more than that. I think you can't there's so many more tactics that fall under social media that need to be in that mix, employee advocacy being one of them, like executive social management and thought leadership. And something else I think that makes a huge deal is like what I kind of call like brand management. So like all the comments that are coming in. I mean, we respond and engage with as many as we can. Like I just did our reporting. So we had like over 2,300 that came in the month of March. We responded to 93% of them with either a like or a reply. And that stuff is super important. One, because it humanizes your brand. It lets the audience know that you're listening to them. But also from that LinkedIn algorithm, right? Like they want that engagement. And if you like something, right, it's going to pop back up, like your post will pop back up again. So monitoring those, I think that's a really, really important part.
Yeah. Well, you said pays like a bit of an art, and I think paid and social listening as well. If anybody does social listening, that again is another art form. You need to know deep Boolean searches to be able to do that. But I'm curious. Oh, Pam Lawton said hello as well. You might know Pam. She said, I think we have around 35,000 employees.
Oh, thanks, Pam.
Thank you, Pam. Stephanie, employee advocacy, in my opinion, is the most effective as it's leveraging the company's most authentic voice. You're on my side, Stephanie. You're preaching to the converted there. I absolutely love that. And Ashley, engaging with the community is so important. It's so true, Ashley, and that's true of employees that are active on social, not just of brands, right? Because sometimes if you just go down that publishing route, it's not a conversation, and people social is conversation. You engage. You can't just publish and leave. You've got to engage and at least acknowledge, if not engage, and reply. Right. Thank you. Oh, this is good. I knew this was going to be a good conversation. Diane, I want to come back to, you said if I could do employee advocacy all day, I would. I'm just being nosy here, but what led you into this role then? Because clearly you've got a real passion for it. So what's your background? Comms, marketing?
Yeah. Well, I went to college for business administration. Terrible idea. Should have gone the comms route, right? Because I ended up having to take all of those accounting and econ and finance classes, and it was awful. Yeah, Ashley's one of my best friends, went to college with me. She can attest to all these terrible classes I had to take. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of took my first job out of college, got into the social media side of things. And then after a while, I had been at Blue Cross Blue Shield. And, that was, I want to say like maybe 2016. So advocacy was certainly like starting to like get in, gain in popularity. I think a lot of like bigger brands had it. If you remember Southwest, right? Like they had their advocacy program. Like I can't think of the name of their advocates, but like it was like based off the peanuts like that they would hand out on flights. It was super cute. And like Starbucks had one. So like these very like aspirational brands had them. And so I went to a conference and there was a session that I could take that was just dedicated to like advocacy and getting something off the ground. And so I don't know, I just got really excited about it and I wanted to start it at my last company. And, we were a health insurer, but we were a not-for-profit health insurer, which is very different than a for-profit, right? All our money goes back into our members and back into the community. So we had a really great story to tell. And a lot of people, if you're here from the UK, insurers are like the devil here, right? But they're really not. Like we had a really good story to tell, and I just knew it would be better to come from employees. And so that's where I kind of got into it. And then obviously when I came here to Maximus, they were dabbling in it and they were on track. But what they were missing was just they needed some dedicated time to it. They needed a formalization of the program. And so that's kind of where I focused.
So can you talk me through that a little bit? So, what did you do to formalize it and how did you direct your time of sort of shaping this thing up into something that became a bit more structured?
Yeah. So first was so when I came in, there was a program, they had a tool they were using, and there was a handful of people that were in the program. But there wasn't someone that was dedicated to it, right? So content being pushed into the tool was very sporadic and, you just kind of joined and then you were given a login and plopped into this tool and, and there wasn't that continual nurturing of it. So I work alongside Jesse on my team, who I'm sure is on the call. So we kind of work together to establish what, the objective of, what we were trying to achieve here, KPIs, right? What are we measuring towards? Even if they were small, right? So it was just we're going to get 100 people in the program by the end of the year, or we're going to maintain this type of active rate. It was just a couple, right? Just a couple things that we were focused on. And then I think the biggest thing there was then a content strategy and figuring out what are we going to put in there? What are we going to ask people to amplify that makes sense that they're going to want to share? So that was the next important step. And then the last thing we did was we created this. I feel like I need to I'm going to be moving around here because I need to plug in my computer.
Yep. No, that's fine.
Because I just noticed that it went dim and I'm like, oh God, my battery's running low. Yeah. So we created this a program guide that just kind of made the program more official, right? And it created a onboarding experience. Although it was pretty hands off, it didn't just give you a login to this tool and say, okay, go get them, right? It helped train you. It helped formalize the program, make it seem, sorry that I'm reaching over like this.
No, that's fine. No, you go ahead.
All right, we're all set. So yeah, that was a big thing, just having something that we could give to people. That was hey, this is a real thing. We implemented gamification. So we actually created, like a more formal gamification where you would get actual like tangible rewards from it. So yeah, that was kind of some of the main focuses. And then, we went after, and we are still today, like it's very grassroots, like what we're doing with our program. So like I said, like we have a lot of employees, but our program is small because for us, like quality is so much more important over quantity. Like we want quality advocates. So for us, that like key measurement is the active rate. Like we want, right? I think when I looked at the last 6 months, it's like a 77% active rate, which is awesome. Like the benchmark for similar programs that use our tool is like 59%. So that's the number that's important to us. So yeah, like we're really focused on going after kind of two groups. So the engaged employees. So those, like one, we're always seeing people that are doing things on social, like, and then we kind of catch them coming into our queues. We're like, oh, let's circle back and get them a part of the program. But also our employee resource groups, like we always go to them, right? Engage them. And then the second kind of section is people who are using social media, like to help with their day-to-day role at Maximus. So think recruiters, business development teams, because this then just becomes like a tool to do their job, right? So it's a win-win for them as well.
Yeah. I've got so many questions. So Ashley said, yeah, apparently you were the first real social media person she knew, and you're very good at it. So there we go. And so there you go. And Stephanie said, I love gamification when done well. Yeah, absolutely. And I quite often I'll say to customers, it's more than just free Amazon vouchers and free. It's not about that. Ambassadors, advocates, champions, call them what you want. They're tying their heart to the brand by talking about what they do, their role, their company. This is so much more than, do us 10 posts and we'll give you some Amazon vouchers. Right. I've got so many questions. Diane, I think I stumbled across that program guide. It's on your profile, isn't it? I think you've put it on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. I think that might be my old company.
Yeah.
But you know what though? Cool. I didn't reinvent the wheel there, right? Like we did like I use a similar structure in our program guide here because it wasn't fixed. So I didn't break it. So
don't break it. It's a brilliant guide. I looked through it and I just thought, it's a story. Why you're part of this program, what's in it for you, what's in it for the brand, how to behave, guidelines, that, really cool. So go check out Diane's profile if you want to have a look. It's in the experience section or for your last company, so they can have a look at that. You see, I put so many things down here and I need to go back and reverse myself. Really interesting. You talked about activity rates and how you focus on quality and not quantity. It's not having about hundreds and thousands of ambassadors. It's about having the right ones that are on the program, which I think is wonderful. Can you tell me a little bit more about this gamification, though? What does that look like? Can you dig? And I have to apologize to Ryan and Donna because I haven't even got to question 3 and I've gone completely off track. But yeah, gamification. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so gamification is one of those things, right? Where like it could be a blessing or it can be a curse. So you have to approach it like because you could get people, and that's the downside. Like if you have gamification with a pool of advocates that are not in it for the right reasons, they're going to be just in there pumping stuff out just to get points so they can cash in, and it's not authentic. Their audience, the people they're sharing their content with, know that their company put them up to this, right? So that's kind of the downside to it. And so I know like some people are like, I don't want gamification. I want people to do this because they love the brand, and that's great. I don't think it starts that way. So the way we handle gamification is we do it on like a total point basis. So we have levels that are at point level. So once you reach 250 points, you're at the mover level, and that's mover connector. The names of them are tied to like some of our employer branding proposition, but then 500 is the next, 1,000 is the next. And then we added in like a next level that's 3,500, like way higher, right? It's called the maven level. But the reason why we just do it like total, like some programs will reset every month, right? Or they set a different goal every month. But I think the idea is eventually your advocates, they can kind of like graduate out of the gamification, right? Like at some point they're doing it just because like this is what they believe in. They want to do it. They want to talk about their company. They believe in what they're doing. And so once they get to that point, it's like, I don't need to be rewarded, you know, like I'm a part of this program. And so that's why I haven't subscribed. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's different for every company, but I like the kind of looking at the overall performance as opposed to like, let's reset every month and see, you know, and do something different. And, you know, we weight activities differently. So unfortunately, the tool that we have, their gamification options are a little limited, right? We only have like 5, 10, and 15 points. And if you give 5 points every time you ask someone to like a post, it adds up quite quickly. So that's 0 points. Like if you do a like, you're just doing it out of the goodness of your heart. So that's how we're kind of preparing you for like, as you graduate beyond, you know, earning a point system.
Yeah. I think that is what you've raised there is brilliant. It's got my brain ticking. That you don't reset and you don't drive through points, but it's a relationship. I think the strength of relationship, the more points they get, the stronger the ambassador link is to the company. And actually, it's less about points and prizes. It's more about investment. You know, maybe their next journey is help me create some of my own content, teach me how to do videos, show me how to write blogs, and or maybe give me some support to be able to do that too. And then that just elevates their influence, which is probably at that point what they're more interested in than points and prizes, right? So yeah. Stephanie said, I found gamification to be more effective on a campaign level versus overall participation level. Yeah, but I am wondering then whether there is 2 levels of gamification, actually. This is a really good conversation because maybe I have seen that too, Stephanie, you know, where you introduce gamification to drive a behavior change, which can help in the short term, especially when you're doing social selling or something like that. But then there's more program, I don't know what you call it, ambassador levels. So probably there's 2, isn't there? There's probably gamification around each. So yeah. Ashley said,
I think that's a great point. Like doing things from a behavior standpoint, like, you know, right now we're on LinkedIn, right? So if eventually we say, okay, we want to expand into X, then we can gamify, right? Based on getting people to activate their X accounts, using X, growing their following on X. So I think that's when those campaigns do come in. Is like, if you've got a very specific, outcome or behavior that you're trying to change.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Oh, I love this discussion because we can sort of jam it out with each other. What kind of rewards do they get? Ashley asked. What kind of rewards?
Yeah. So for us, it's branded stuff. So we don't do like well, that's not necessarily true. So for the levels, it's branded swag. So every level, there's 2 different items that you can pick from. And they're pretty cool, right? Like, I'm trying to think what some of them are. Jesse probably knows why I can't think of it. I don't know, like at the top level, it's like, I can't think of it. Anyway, so that's kind of one way, but then we also have an Advocate of the Month program as well. Yeah, so every month we pick one person that's kind of like the top person for the month. And there's a bunch of different things that it's based off of. So, you know, it's not always like they've shared the most or they have the most reach or they, you know, it's a bunch of different things that we kind of like look at everybody and weight them. And, you know, like this past month, the Advocate of the Month, we gave it to him because when we ask him to comment, like he leaves thoughtful comments. Like you can tell that like he's reading the post, like and then he's leaving a thoughtful comment. And that is a behavior that we want to encourage. So we want to celebrate that. So our company has like a company-wide recognition program. And so as part of that, the Advocate of the Month is then awarded points through that, which they can then redeem for like Amazon stuff and gift cards. So that side of it is like, that's not the branded side. Like you get more than swag if you get
up that. Yeah. Jessie said, actually, thank you, Jessie. Blankets, mug warmers, caps, tumblers, etc. Blankets. Never heard that. That's cool. Blankets, branded blanket. I like that idea.
I have one at home. I use it all the time.
And also, can I just say, we found that branded swag, socks. I know that sounds really daft, but people fight over LinkedIn socks, happy socks. So think about socks.
Socks, that's great. I love that.
Weird, isn't it? It's funny what sort of floats people's boats. You said, now, hold on a second. You might have said this already, Diane. How many people roughly are on this program?
So in our program, it's about like 200 right now.
Wow.
Which, like if you look at like how many employees we have, like that doesn't seem like a lot, but again, like I just want to emphasize like how important like that quality is to us. Like we could very well like get more people in like by blasting the entire company, but that's not our approach. And like it's a slow burn, right? Like we're trying to get to 250 this year. And that was kind of one of the things I know when I first started in this program, and I learned a long time ago, like in training that I did and conferences that I went to, is that a lot of like executives and leadership will look to this as something that should grow very rapidly, right? Kind of like an employee resource group, right? Like if you launch an employee resource group, people join it. But what I need to make them understand is that this is a much bigger ask than joining an employee resource group. An employee resource group is you tune into some calls and you're on a chat and it's pretty hands-off, right? Like you can be more involved. You can be in a leadership role, you can, whatever. But for most people, just to be a member, it's pretty low commitment. To be a part of an advocacy program it requires a lot more an investment from your employee, especially when like it's not something that is part of their day-to-day role. They really are like just doing this off the side of their desk, if you will. And it is a bigger ask. And so, that's something that we know when we go into recruiting people for this. We actually position our recruitment strategy is to go in. We offer a training first, right? So we'll go to an ERG and we'll say, hey, we're going to do a professional development opportunity for you. We're going to help you optimize your LinkedIn profile, help you help elevate your personal brand on social. We're going to give you these tips. And then at the end, after they've gotten all this information and they're super jazzed and like, oh yeah, I can't wait to like try this and update my profile and all that stuff. Then we say, and you should join our program. And then we pitch that at the end. And then that's how we usually get a lot of bites off of this stuff, is going very grassroots, meeting to meeting to meeting, positioning this to people, doing the what's in it for me, making sure that the employee's getting something first before we make the ask. And it's been a very good approach. I think it's just more impactful than like sending an email to the entire company. And then also like empowering our advocates to recruit other people. And that's huge, right? So we do give points if you refer somebody, and we track like where you heard about the program from people. If once you've leveled up, we actually give you, you can request a Teams profile that has a frame around it that says like what your level is. And I can't tell you how many times people ask me like, what is that? And then I say, oh, well, that's part of our advocacy program. You should join. So like just little things like that pique people's interest. I think just go further.
I love it. Oh my word. I've got so many more questions now. Can I just call up though, this blanket, I would love to see a picture of a blanket at some point. There's a lot of talk about people loving the blankets. Yes. Socks, Ashley, brilliant idea. Stephanie said infinity travel pillows and comfies. Donna, I'm feeling there's a blog post coming on about the top swag you can give employee advocacy programs, because I think we're getting a little list here. So thank you, everyone. Right, Emily, I like the idea of tying point levels to brand language and values. Yeah, I picked up on that. It was good, Emily. Yeah. To help further drive the employee's sense of belonging to the company values. Haven't heard that approach before, and I really like it. Creates long-term connection. Yeah, there's obviously a connection here. So do you work closely with HR and employer branding? Is that
Yeah.
where this came from? Is it? Mm.
So in Maximus, I am in HR. Corporate
Oh.
communications actually reports up to HR. So that's like a little difference here. I was able to Jesse and I were able to launch this program like in 6 months. And at my last company, it took like years to do. So which is just a testament to like having the right buy-in from leadership, because at my last company, I was in marketing. So I'm here in this marketing engine trying to push this. But I will say something that I think is super helpful in terms of like getting buy-in. And if you're starting a program, build like a council, like an advisory council, right? This is a brand new idea. Employee advocacy, it freaks a lot of people out, especially your friends over in legal, right? So have them on the advisory council. So when I was rolling out, the first time I rolled out a program, I created a council that had HR, it had people in marketing, it had people in research, in compliance, in legal, on recruitment. Like I had a representative from around the organization that was helping us build this program, so legal was weighing in on the policy, and like they were at the table when we were making these decisions. We didn't just come to them and say, hey, we want to do this, and then they like freaked out. They were part of it. And then from there, you just already have these like built-in champions all around your company that can help, advocate and champion for the program when you're not around, because your social team is probably really small. If you just relied on your tiny little team to get this word out, I mean, you wouldn't make a dent. So
Yeah.
I think those partnerships are really important. But I've always found like if you do have a solid employer value proposition, which luckily for us at my last 2 companies, like we had these at Maximus and at Blue Cross, like we had these very powerful manifestos and like language of how we kind of jazzed up our own people, right? And so we plucked a lot of that from there. One to like for the synergy and to keep that whatever, but it's also just most people I think like gravitate to their employer brand, and they, like that's something they can connect with.
Yeah.
More so than like a general brand. If you have like a general brand campaign.
Yeah.
And stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And also it makes complete sense because people are attracted to the culture. They want, that they'll work well in a place that they, where their passion, their brand fits the employer value proposition as well. So it makes sense to tie all this together. It's brilliant. Yeah, very interesting to see it sitting in HR. I know. I don't think I've come across corporate communications sitting in HR. And this is
either.
No. And this is it's a bit of a hot potato. And as to who leads advocacy, but this is the first time I've heard I've heard people talk about like a center of excellence. If you're lucky enough to raise social up across all functions, but the fact that you set up an advisory council, so that is a really smart way, rather than sort of beating the drum to say, can we have social across everyone, or marketing's going to take it, or, you're actually bringing people together collaboratively in a council. I love that.
Yeah.
Kelly said, investing employees in a meaningful way makes a big difference. Absolutely. Absolutely. There are so many things that you say that I've just got notes. When you bring people in to the program, you do that professional development, what's in it for me, then you introduce them to the program. Do you at that point set some expectations? Do you say, if you want to come into this program, this is what you're going to get, but this is kind of what we ask of you? What does that look like?
Yeah, so that's kind of part of the the pitch is, we explain what the program is, but like I want to make sure that people understand like the impact that they're making by being part of the program. Because I think that like that's something that sometimes people miss. Like we try to, well, there is like reporting that we do, like that you can have in the tool, but like I think one thing I haven't mentioned is that we just started. So we created like a Teams community with our advocates. So after you join, you get the guide, but like, okay, like try to get you up and running on your own. Then you're invited to this Microsoft Teams. We call it Advocacy Connect. And so everyone is in this team, and it's just a way for us to like connect in real time. And so people have questions. We've had people reach out to us and they're like, something's not working. And like, okay, boom, we fix it in real time, as opposed to like sending emails around. Like we can ask a poll and do it in real time. Like we made this LinkedIn Live, like we shared it with all of our advocates and said, hey, like if you want to come, like, join this. So, we want to share TED Talks through there and like podcasts, and like, just, we want them to look at this, like, yes, they're seeing the impact. The reason why I bring this up is because we also share impact with them. So like, collectively, you guys have generated this amount of impressions, and I'll try to get the number right here, but like for the March reporting, I think it was like maybe 4 million impressions that they all generated together. And it's like 400 times more than what we can achieve with our corporate channel, like insane, right? So, and, obviously like a lot of programs can assign like a dollar amount to that. I don't know that off the top of my head. But yeah, I lost like my train of thought of where we came to get to this.
Oh, advocacy.
The expectations, right. But like, yeah, I mean, we're pretty like, it's pretty casual. But we do, like, if people are inactive, like Jesse and I we'll put the hammer down, right? Like we'll remind you a couple times. But if you remain inactive, like we will deactivate you and just send an email. It's like, hey, like come back when you're ready,
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like sometimes like I've had employees who like are our most active, right? And then something changes with work and they get slammed and they can't keep up with it. And that's fine. Then come back when you're ready, like we appreciate everything that you do anyway, but so I don't know. I went like
I love that. Yeah, no, I think that's really good that you manage and monitor the program, that you demonstrate impact back to the members of your program. But the Teams channel where you share things like TED Talks as well, you're embracing the growth mindset of that community. If they want to be on social, active on social, they're yielding the benefits more than just pushing out content. They're learning, they're engaging with others, they're staying connected. And that's a growth mentality. That's a feed me more, let me learn, let me grow. So you're tapping into that in your Teams community, which I love as well. I've got to come back to this referral thing. I think that's brilliant. You get points for team referrals. I mean, this is referral recruitment, right? But just internally for a program. Yeah. Brilliant idea.
And it's Jessie, mad props to her, because she has to manually track that, because with the tool we have, we cannot capture that. So every month, like she has to like go through our like people that joined and like go through line by line and see. I mean, it's not, the volume isn't like, unmanageable, but she's, has to like manually track that. So,
but it's worth it, right? So this is about doing a few things well than doing lots of things, trying to do. It's not a quantity game at all. So Stephanie said employees like knowing their participation is making an impact beyond their personal benefits. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They want to feel that connection, and what they're doing is actually, and you already said it, I am appreciated. And even if the timing's not right, that's fine. Take a break, come back when you're ready. It's cool. So and
I also just want to note that I think that if done right, like this can be a great way to just help your employees be more connected to the company and to the brand. Because I know like in bigger organizations, like there's a lot of communication breakdown, right? And so your programs and like having this community, and even just the stuff that you ask them to share, like they know what's going on at the company. Because you're telling them that we just won an award, or you're telling them that we have a new contract, and sometimes like in big companies, there's communication breakdown. So like giving that information to your advocates and just making sure that they're on top of like what's happening in the industry, what's happening at the company is another way that I think they appreciate like feeling more connected to the company and the brand.
Yeah. And talking of awards, so Jesse's jumped in. Employee earned media value in March was over $7,000 and reach 1.5 million. This fiscal year, our reach is around 6 million. Goodness gracious me. That's incredible. And that's earned media value. And I think it's great that you're measuring that because it's a huge impact, especially if you've got paid programs going on. So, which are normally measured out of marketing. So I think this is where your marketing background is coming in. It's like, hold on a minute. We pay for clicks over in marketing. So let's just put some value on those clicks, shall we? And just see. You mentioned the awards, the Maximus Values. I'm going to bring this one up, the Icon Award. Can you tell us a bit about that and what that was and what you got it for?
Yeah, sure. So Maximus rolled out its new like set of values last year. So their accountability, collaboration, compassion, customer focus, innovation, and respect. They're basically established. So like all of our employees across the globe kind of were guided by like these same principles. And they're just really designed to like, represent like who we are now, who we want to be. And, their considerations like for everything that we do. And so this year we had awards. We gave awards out for each one of those values through like a nomination process. So, luckily I was nominated by my boss for the work that we did on advocacy. I actually nominated Jessie for like her work on advocacy. So, and we were both recognized. So I was, I got the icon one, but Jessie was also like, she was recognized too as like an honoree, which is amazing. But it was just really, it was so good for our program, like one of the first things we did when it was announced was like, we went to our team and we were like, this is kind of like our award, guys, right? Like, yeah, Jessie and I are doing a lot of stuff on the back end and, we're pushing things through, but the participants, like they're the ones that are moving the program forward. They're the ones that are taking a chance and like, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to invest time in this. And, they're the ones that like make it successful. So I felt like we got to pass this on to them. Like, I want them to know, like, this is our program's award. Like, this isn't just like my award. Like, this is all of ours.
Yeah, I just think that's wonderful. Yeah, really, really amazing. What you've got there. I've got one more question. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, because I know we're running out of time, but honestly, I could talk to you forever because I keep getting lost
this is
on where
we're going.
Favorite
thing to talk about.
I know it is good, isn't it? And you see, this is what happens when you get two people who just love advocacy on the phone. They can't stop talking. AI, right? It's everywhere. So are you guys doing anything with AI around advocacy? How are you weaving it in? What you're thinking? Where are you at?
Yeah. So, Maximus has like a good position on AI. I think like they really are encouraging us to use it, to like look at it as, something that can take like mundane tasks and give AI these kind of mundane things, save time there so you can put your time into like more strategic things that AI can't do as well. So, we use it for like our outbound publishing. It's built into the tool that we have, but, we use all the tone and stuff like that, grammar, etc. But on the advocacy side, our tool actually has a paraphraser, like an AI paraphraser. So I think the goal, any advocacy program manager would tell you, like, I think their goal is like end game, right? Like we want to drop any suggested copy. We just want to ask you to share something and your advocates feel confident enough to say their own thing, right? That's like end game. If you can get there, you're amazing. I want to meet you, right? But for most people, like that's their biggest hesitation with being in a program like this is they're like, I don't know what to say. So we provide suggested copy. And we're working towards, this is one of those like behavior changes that we're working towards for this year is trying to get them to rely less and less on the suggested copy. It's really meant to be a thought starter, but you're really just supposed to change it and make it your own. So the AI paraphraser, we use it in some cases, but that'll mix up our suggested copy. It'll rephrase it for every member, so that it doesn't look verbatim word for word. So that's how we're using it with AI. I mean, obviously, like there's sometimes when like we don't want it to be paraphrased if it's like a legal issue or if it's, something that we have to, keep a certain way out of respect for a customer or a client. Like we won't use that because we want them to say a certain thing. But that has been, definitely helpful. I think it's a good stopgap until we can get to people feeling more empowered and comfortable to say their own thing.
Yeah.
Every post.
Yeah, it's a natural thing, I think, isn't it? And then eventually they might start even sourcing their own content. And it's just a maturity journey, isn't it? It's getting them in a platform where they can easily access content that they know is approved, not going to get them into trouble. That's a good first step. Then you can start playing with the content itself and sort of putting your own commentary. And then you might even start sourcing your own stuff as long as you know what to do and what not to do.
That's like the perfect journey. Right there.
It's a complete maturity journey. So, Ashley said, yes, people need a prompt. Sometimes it's hard for them to know what to say. Oh, Ryan, there you go. Jump that round. Ryan's clicking on the wrong thing. Stephanie said, have you had success in getting senior leaders to participate? Oh, great question.
Great question. So, we do. So, all right, I will say our CHRO is in the tool, in the program. Full transparency, like I do manage that for her a little bit. And the reason we want her in there, right? Because it's just like I want like the other participants to see her name on the leaderboard, right? And she's very bought into the program. So even though like I'm helping support that, and I manage all of her other social too, so it just kind of like makes sense. A lot of times, like it's very hard to get executive leaders in these kind of programs because it's like one more tool that they're learning. So we have like a separate program where we sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, a separate program where we manage like certain executives' social, like completely outside of the tool. But we do have like some senior leaders in there. Like I want to say there's definitely like some SVPs in there that are active too, which is great. So I mean, I think we could do better. I think that's something we could focus on, like is getting more of that senior leadership in there. When we originally relaunched this program, the CHRO like presented this to the senior leadership team, and then we kind of like communicated with them via email, like with a different message, just like about how they're leaders and how we want them to set an example. And like, as you're higher up in the company, you need to be a champion for the brand kind of thing. I mean, between us, I think there's more we can do there. But it is challenging.
Yeah, but I think that's quite normal because I think when you get to a certain level that you're kind of expected to almost create your own voice and own content and own your own swim lane on social. Do you know what I mean? It's less about amplifying brand content. You actually are creating a narrative for your own role in that. So I see that a lot, that when you get to that level, then that's separated out. They have access, they can read it, they can look at it, but gosh, there's loads here. Have you had access? Yes. Check out our case study on how we studied Gen AI and how there's trade-off between using AI. The partnership between human and AI leads to better content. Oh, interesting. So have a quick look at that. Thank you very much, Jared. A lot of leaders have ghostwriters. They are so busy, it makes sense. It does, and I agree, Ashley. It's like as long as the authentic voice comes through, I think this is where you do need a bit more hand-holding, and they have a role on social, and it's beyond sharing out of a tool.
Yeah, and I will say my last company, I thought they did this really well. All of the whole C-suite, they had a position that was called like a communications consultant that was dedicated to that person, right? And so a lot of our execs at my last company were in the program, but it was being managed by their comms person. And that person was their right hand. Like they were the ones writing for them all the time. And that like level there is, I think, a great way to be able to get executives engaged authentically, because that person is like their right hand, but that's like their job, right? Is to kind of ghost for them. So that's always, I love that approach.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Oh, honestly, Diane, I am so glad I connected to you, and I'm so glad we've talked today. I've learned so much from your program. I've got scribbles all over my paper here. There's a great summary. I mean, just all sorts of things, from how you track objectives, how you measure impact, how you feed that back to your team, how you create community, how you engage others to refer recruit into the program. Absolutely brilliant. And where you find people, the ERG groups, somebody said earlier, that's a great call. Absolutely. You know, how you onboard people and gamify the program in a way that's long-term, but also looking at short-term behavior shifts as well. So absolutely fantastic. And thank you so much for everyone who's got involved, left comments, asked questions. It's because of you, actually, that makes these conversations so lively, and I get to learn so much. So thank you so much, Diane. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
Yeah, hop on over to LinkedIn, guys, and connect with Diane. Feel free to reach out to her directly. I'm sure she'll be up for connections. So
of course.
Thank you, guys. Now, we're not doing any more of these now, because we've got an event in London on May 16th. So it's by invitation only. But if you think you qualify, you should definitely let us know. And I wish you could be there, Diane, because you'd be a great speaker. We will invite you next time. You can come to the UK. But we basically bring everyone into the room to exchange ideas, mistakes, errors, things that they should have done differently. And it's just basically a very good networking event. So can't wait for that to happen. So we'll be not coming back on LinkedIn Lives until we've done that. So yeah. Thank you again, Diane. And see you all. Have a great rest of the day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.